Elizabeth.
And I'm Vivian.
And welcome to the Entry Level Adulting Podcast,
where we help you to navigate the confusing world of adulting,
one challenge at a time.
Welcome, friend.
Hi, and welcome. Today we're going to be going over accountability.
And why we need it, why is it important, and the practical ways we can use accountability in our lives.
So how do you feel you need to be accountable, Vivian?
Oh boy. So
on the spot right now. Hot seat.
Right? So I think accountability is really important, especially as we're starting out in our careers or our education levels, mainly because no one has ever achieved anything by themselves. And the fact that we think or feel like we should is completely bogus.
I completely agree. I think it's tough too, because in today's culture, it seems like there's so much emphasis on the individual and what we can all succeed, like success, the idea of success for an individual. And so because of that, I think there's this sort of stigma and this idea that you have to do it on your own. And that is such a lie, because, you know, there's that one quote that's like, no man is an island or whatever. But I think there's some real truth to that. Right? Because you can't operate on your own.
Yeah, because you don't know enough by yourself.
Yeah, I mean, well, teachers, for one thing, first of all, you need to gain knowledge. So even if you're not like an academic person, you know, it doesn't have to be in a school setting, but you should be getting those mentors or, you know, seeking out people that know more than you. Like if you really want to be an entrepreneur or be driven in whatever industry, in whatever you're doing, you should be studying up. You know, you should study up, learn from the people that came before you. Like the idea that you have to sort of reinvent the wheel is absurd to me.
Because then we walk around with a whole bunch of wheels and no one could have figured out the car because we all felt like we had to have our own wheel. Okay? No.
So when it comes to accountability too, and I think I'm not the only one that struggles with this. I know I put you on the hot seat, but this is definitely a me thing. I struggle with self-discipline. I am not self-motivated. Like it's really difficult for me to stick to a schedule for my own sake. But the difference between me making a schedule and sticking to it is literally just having any person meet me along the way. Like if I know I have to get up because someone is going to be waiting for me to be somewhere, then I will be up, no problem. I'll be half an hour early. But if I know I just have to get up because I feel like I should get up and be productive with my day, nothing's going to happen.
I'll get up at noon. And I will feel productive in that morning, okay? No one judge me. I will feel productive. I'm like, me and my bed had a great conversation about why I should not leave. So.
And, you know, the bed won.
So convincing. So I think the problem is who you want to be that person or that people group. And I feel like a lot of the times people feel the person has to be their accountability partner or person for every single facet of their life. And that's just not realistic.
That's a great point too, because choosing your accountability partner, I think, is a huge factor in whether or not you are successful.
Yes. Because
that person has to be reliable. Right? Let's just like go through some things that you need to look for in an accountability partner straight off. They need to be reliable. They need to be someone who you know won't blow this off. Because if you're both blowing it off, then it's not going to happen. You need that person to be equally committed and equally dedicated into showing up. You need someone that's going to show up and also follow up with you if you don't.
The same way you want them, like you should be following up with them and checking in and saying, how are you doing with this? And setting like times that you want.
Exactly.
I think it can also work like it doesn't have to be just one person. It can also be a group of people, like a study group or a group of people that are, whether it's studying, exercising, learning more about the career field that you want to be in, right? Making sure that that dedication that each person has is there and how serious they are about continuing on this path with you.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to how committed each person is. And I think that also those examples you gave are a great illustration of why it's okay to have different accountability partners for different things. You know, not everyone's going to have the same goals.
Yeah. Like the person who I want to help me stay accountable about exercising is not always going to be the same person that I want to or can help me in terms of staying accountable of my budget and my finances. It doesn't have to be that same person, right? You can use other people to bolster you as you bolster them on your way to success.
Yeah, you need to take advantage of your village and your community. You know, you need to find people who have strengths in different areas and shamelessly abuse it. Like tap into those strengths, tap into your bench, and you know, benches can run deep in different areas. And if you feel like your bench doesn't cover something, then maybe you need to join a Facebook group. Go seek that out. Seek out people that have those similar goals.
Reach out. You're not limited with just the person next to you.
So, Vivian, in your personal experience, can you give like an example of how you've used accountability to accomplish a goal?
Yeah. So, probably one that a lot of people can relate to is trying to lose weight. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. Why don't the pounds just run away? But besides the point, I was in grad school, I was gaining weight, and I was upset because I didn't want it to look like grad school one. Like, I wanted to exit out and being like, yes, like I conquered this. So, losing weight was part of that. And my roommate at the time was really, really into like exercising. Like, she was like a gym rat. She would go for like hours. So, she would tell me, hey, I'm going to the gym because we like to communicate ourselves with each other. I was like, yeah, I should go to the gym too. And I'd use that to like motivate me to go, and then we talk about it. It was really funny because at the time our goals were actually different. She was trying to gain weight and I was trying to lose weight. So I would remind her, hey, you should probably eat another meal today, right? If you are trying to gain weight, because I'm hungry. So you're probably hungry too. um, and she would be really nice about not buying snacks because she knew I'd just find them and cram them all in my face. So all her snacks were things you had to cook, which I like to cook, but no one wants to cook a whole meal when you wanted just a snack. So
Oh my gosh, what were some examples of like snacks you had to cook out of curiosity?
snacks that I had, oh my gosh, so crazy. She just texted too. Her ears must be burning. um, we had those rice cakes. I don't really like them. That's just a personal preference. But we would have like a lot of fruit, right? Like, she didn't buy a lot of chips or like sweets, which was helpful for me, right? Because she knew, I would like to say she understood that I had a hard time. And if she did buy them, they were usually tucked away or hidden on like a tall shelf since I'm short.
So I think that story brings up a good point though of are you texting her back right now? No. But I think that story brings up a good point. Like you're saying that your friend not only kept you accountable, but she also helped you remove temptations and like roadblocks to achieving your goals. So that she really went above and beyond then.
I don't know if she meant it. I think her goal just also coincided with mine. So we were able to encourage each other.
That's a good point too, of just finding people that are on that same wavelength and same path. And would you say your bond is stronger now, having gone through that kind of together?
Yeah. I felt really good too. I was able to lose 30 pounds at the end of it. So, yeah. Mission accomplished. I beat grad school.
So how much of that has like continued on into your life today?
It actually has. Like, I regularly try to watch what I eat. Still try and exercise pretty regularly, even with my crazy schedule. But I try to make time for it, right? It's a goal and something that's important to me. And even though we don't live together anymore, right? Because we finished school and moved different places, I found other people to help continue that. So like my coworkers and me will exercise together, or we will text each other when we went to the gym after work to keep each other accountable. It doesn't always have to be that same person. You can find different people along the way to help push you towards whatever goal you're trying to achieve. What about you?
So I would say, gosh, I think the biggest one that I can think of right now that's been the most recent and applicable to my life is studying for the CPA exam. So for those of you who don't know, I was an accounting major, among other things, in college, and I was studying to become a certified public accountant because oh gosh, that's a whole other journey in of itself, the whole road that it took me to even get to that point, because I can honestly say if you had told me that I would be studying for my CPA exam after college, I would have laughed in your face, because I am honestly not that person. At least I thought I wasn't, but here we are. But it was a brutal process, because I just kept failing exams, and I thought, you know, I guess I underestimated just how much studying would be involved. And again, this is, a longer story than for this example, but basically, I was driven to the point where I couldn't pass my last two exams, and you have to pass all four exams within an 18-month window, which I guess kind of goes to show, you have a year and a half to pass exams. They're pretty hard exams. And so I was desperate. And I was finally at a point where I was like, I need help, and that kind of really goes to our one of our first points, where it's, you can't do it alone. And I was in this mentality where I had to do it by myself, and I was all by myself, and there was no one else in the whole world that could possibly understand what I was going through, because it felt like everybody was passing faster than me, or knew or was studying, had different methods that worked better for them than they did for me, because I realized that the method that they had told us about in college just wasn't for me. That wasn't how I learned. It was kind of a lot of just cramming and just over information. And I'm really a big picture learner. Like, I need that kind of overview in order to sort of understand how things link together. And so it was tough to find people that studied like I did and also were struggling like I was, and just really met me in this place. And I finally reached out to my coworker and also friend, who was also in this same boat. And I'm so glad I did, because not only are we so much closer now, but we really kept each other accountable. We were in the middle of busy season, which is like 13, 14-hour days, if not more for some. Thankfully, that wasn't me. And we were so committed. We would get up at 7 in the morning, study for 2 hours, work a 13-hour day, and study for 2 hours at night from like 8 to 10, 9 to 11, go to bed, do it all over again the next morning. And we kept that up for about 2.5 months. And it was the most disciplined I've ever been in my life, honestly, studying for something. It was brutal, but by the end of it, I passed both exams, with a month to spare.
Yeah, you
And
did.
that, honestly, and then, unlike Vivian, who has continued her good work, I became like a, overweight sailor man, and like didn't leave my bed for a week and was just exhausted and mentally drained. And so now I'm finally at the point where I'm recovered, and I'm trying to figure out what my new routine is, because I don't have to keep up that routine. So I'm trying to figure out what the new one is. And now my new goal is exercise, and getting ready for a move and everything. So I've got other stuff going on right now. But yeah, so I am going to be looking to Vivian now for exercise advice. But that's kind of a good point too, is you're going to accomplish some goals, and then I think the next challenge is going to figure out how do you rotate to the next one,
Or maintain.
and
Yeah.
maintain. Exactly, because your situations are going to continue to change. And I don't have a great, Vivian probably can speak to this better than I can, because I'm still figuring that out myself. But the point is that it's okay to have your goals change. It's more, you just need to find that new accountability partner, and then set that routine and stick to it.
Yeah. I think you reminded me of two other things. When we're going through something or we're trying to accomplish something, we feel like we're in it alone or we're the only ones. Not to get all scriptural biblical on anyone, but there is this verse that says there is nothing new under the sun. And I love that, because it reminds me, yeah, you're cute, whatever, sure, but someone has been through this before. Step down on your high horse, okay? Someone else has struggled with this before. Reach out and ask for some help. And the other thing is that I feel like a lot of us have a hard time being kind to ourselves. Like, actually, like when we're struggling, we have such a hard time just like loving ourselves and saying, hey, it's okay. The next step, don't worry, spending so much time focusing on what you're missing, and instead look at what you're doing, and then from there continue to push forward. And I feel like that's what a lot of people get stuck in. Like, oh, I've been trying. And they keep seeing how they failed and never look back to see what they actually accomplished. to continue to motivate them to continue to pursue their goal.
That's a great point too, and that's something that my studying partner, her name is Catherine. Hi, Catherine. Shout out if you're listening. And we actually talked about that as well because it was so tempting after I passed the third exam, or we each like had some sort of accomplishment that we should have celebrated, and it was so tempting to just keep moving on and be like, but I'm not done yet, and just immediately automatically move on to the next thing that you had to do on your list without really taking that time to celebrate and reflect and just appreciate everything and everyone that got you to where you are. Vivian and I, we both have our faith, and it was tough. And it's tough to hang on to those things because you feel so beat down, to really remind yourself not only of what you believe, but staying humble and remembering you're right. You're not the first person to go through this. You are not special in that way.
Really not.
And there is some comfort in that. It's easy to get up in your own head and be really arrogant of like, I am, charting new territory, walking on the moon, but you're not. And reaching out and deciding that you're not an island and not isolating yourself anymore, and finding that accountability partner, or even just people to commiserate with. There's so much freedom in that, of just admitting that you're struggling and it being okay.
Yeah.
And just being in a mud puddle. It's just there's something so liberating about having other people just swim in your mud puddle with you. Like, you don't know where or when or how you're going to get out, but just knowing that you see other people get out, it's possible, and knowing that you're not alone in the muck is so perspective changing.
I think some of the things then that we should address is like, how do you then keep someone or be someone's like accountability partner? And I feel like part of that's really important is, yes, that you both have this desire and are serious about what you want to accomplish, but also like checking in on each other regularly. Weekly meetings, even if it's like daily, that you're going to study together, or text the other person, be like, hey, I'm starting, right, is really great. Posting on whatever group chats that you guys are in, if it's a group of you, posting it on social media. That way you have a recorded dialogue. You use it for everything else, right? No one's going to be mad if you put it to improve yourself, trying to do this, right? And then you can at least get some support from that aspect.
No, I think that's a great point. And this is something too that I would suggest, even though I haven't necessarily done all of this myself, so this is a bit of a practice do what I say, not as I do thing. But if you think this would work for you as a strategy, then putting your money where your mouth is. Because some people are really motivated by that. Like, some people, if you really put down the money to go to the gym or hire a personal trainer, it's definitely something I've considered before, of just having, an investment, thinking of it as an investment, whether you're investing in your health, your education, your mental health, your financial health, your career, whatever it is, just really thinking of it as, hey, I'm really going to try. And if that's that little extra motivation you need, definitely consider it. I mean, of course, check out your sources. Don't just be throwing your money around wherever. But also, you have to think about what motivates you. And I think that was one thing that I struggled with so much in the CPA in that whole journey, is realizing that it was okay that I wasn't like everybody else. And what worked for other people wasn't going to necessarily work for me, and being okay with that, and then exploring other options. And that's what everybody needs to do. What works for somebody might not work for you. So that means you need to explore other options.
You need to have like a realistic plan about what you want to do, right? What goals you actually want to set for yourself and how you want to accomplish it. So if it's setting for a test, your test is on this date, but looking at what can I do and study, how much time, how many hours a day I can put into this. Realistically, how much weight you want to lose, what changes can you make that you can be consistent about, right? To do on the regular in a healthy way. Let me preface that. As a healthcare provider, I hate when people like, I'm going to just switch to being, for example, vegetarian without doing the research in the background as to what it means to be a vegetarian. I won't go. That's the end of my soapbox. I'll step back down.
Stepping down from the soapbox.
I step down, I put it away. Okay, I might bring it back later, but it's down. But yeah, just realistically what you want to accomplish and then bouncing your ideas off of other people. That way they can sometimes give you a reality check. Like, oh, I'm going to lose 10 pounds in a week. That's called dying or cancer. So let's not do that, right? Realistically, what can you accomplish? Maybe like half a pound, or maybe it's like, oh, instead of going through this whole textbook, I'll go through chapter 1 or chapter 1.5, right? Realistic goals. That way, when you accomplish them, you A, feel good, and 2, are more likely to continue on the path to success.
Absolutely. Not only is setting realistic goals, but I think also acknowledging and being honest with yourself what your stumbling blocks are. What are your distractions? And removing them. So for Vivian, it was like getting rid of the snacks and not having them in the house.
I have no snacks. Don't come to my house for snacks.
For me, I had to remove all social media for months at a time because I would just spend time on that instead of studying. So I didn't read a book. I loved reading books. And it's not necessarily things that are quote unquote bad. But yeah, I didn't read. I didn't have Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever. I deleted it all from my phone. And I had an ad blocker and like a website blocker on my browsers, on Netflix, on Hulu, on Disney Plus, all those things, all the different streaming platforms, websites. And I just had to cold turkey block it all out just so I could force myself to stay on task.
We're not saying that everyone has to do it to an extreme, like no snacks or no social media. Again, what works for you and what you see that is holding you back. So if you know from certain times you're really prone to be on social media, maybe you could just do like a child guard where it just times you out.
That's true. There's great features now on iPhones where you can set limits for how much activity you can spend on an app, and then it's going to cut you off after a certain amount of time.
And that's our show for today.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you on our next podcast.
We hope you continue to face adulthood head on. We've got this.
Follow us at Entry Level Adulting on Instagram, intro and outro music by @Deku_ on Twitch.
Bye, friend.